Brought to you by the Spring Games, the largest college softball event in the world. Catch all the action at thespringgames.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Bob. Welcome to Champions Within. We have a little something different today. We recently started a Christian coaches group. Many of you know that. We do not have a name for it yet. We're working on it. Just praying about it and see what the Holy Spirit brings us. So I put this first coaches podcast will be on Champions Within, and we will see where God leads us after that. So just wanted to make you aware of that. But today I have one of my favorite people on. Her name is Dana Jenkins.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Dana's a whoop, whoop. And by the way, guys, we are doing this off the cuff. We have no script. We don't worry about that
Fly
stuff.
by the seat of our pants.
Fly by the seat of our pants. I love it. That's what we are doing. We're flying by the seat of our pants. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it, get a few laughs, and actually learn something. Because this is important stuff. Christian coaches today are under a microscope. You guys are under the gun to make. You got to be basically perfect. You got to watch everything that comes out of your mouth, every move that you make nowadays. Because there are groups out there that want you out. They want all Christians out, I guess we can say.
Yep.
But Dana right now she started, Dana and I met about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe 12. How long's it been?
Oh my gosh.
2010,
It's
11?
I want to say almost 11.
Almost 11. It's an amazing story. I think we told it on Dana's podcast, All Jacked Up, way back in, when was that? December?
Yeah, it was December. Yep.
Amazing.
All jacked up, baby.
Dana's podcast is awesome. You guys got to check it out. She's all jacked up for Jesus, but she's also just all jacked up. I mean, she's got issues. So, told you we have no script. We're just going to go with it today. But there is a serious component to all this.
Fun.
Yes, there is a serious component. The world, if you haven't looked out the window and noticed, the world is losing its collective mind. There's wars and rumors of wars. There's earthquakes. There's famines coming. There's all kinds of stuff. We can go down a rabbit hole. I just, some people say, oh, you're wearing a tinfoil hat. And I'm like, well, I'd rather wear a tinfoil hat than be blindfolded. So there you go. But anyway.
True.
So again, Christian coaches are under the microscope. Anybody Christian is actually under the microscope. And Dana was not a Christian her whole life. She actually started out coaching. Her first coaching job, was it Furman? Your first head coaching job was Furman.
No, actually, That was my second head coaching job. First head coaching job was at a small little D2 school in Anderson, South Carolina. It was Anderson College back in the day, but now it's Anderson University.
Anderson U.
Hey, you.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, I never thought I would come full circle and get back to coaching at Furman because I'm a Furman alumni. So I thought, I had a great experience at Furman, loved it, but really never thought I'd have the opportunity to come back and be the head coach. But God had different plans. So, yeah, it worked out. Yep.
It's amazing. God always has other plans, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Plans that we have no idea. Plans that are just make us nervous and scared, but always good plans, right?
Oh, they're better than our plans usually. No
yeah.
question about that. So Dan and I met after she was let go of her job at Furman. We won't get into all that stuff unless she wants to, as she tells her story. But I was leaving. Dot and I were called to Liberty University to coach, and I was the national director for FCA softball. Dana came on board a little before that, and then when Dot and I were called to Liberty, she took over as the national director. She was that for about 10 years until she got her new job Now she has basically 2 jobs, 2 titles. Most people don't have any. Dana Jenkins has 2. She is now
I'm an overachiever.
You are an overachiever. There's no question about that. She is now the area director in South Carolina for Greenville, South Carolina FCA. So she is awesome.
That's it.
She told me several times, I do not want this job. I do not want this job. And then she took the job. So love how Dana works.
That's kind of how God works. And I mean, hey, every time I've had an open door in the ministry, when you told me about my first job with FCA, coming in with FCA softball, I gave the Christian answer. I said, let me pray about it. Knowing in my mind, I was like, I mean, I can pray till the cows come home. I don't want this job. I don't want it. But God. But God.
Don't you love that when you tell somebody, a Christian friend of yours, something going on in your life, I'm going to pray for you. I wonder what the percentage is of people that actually do pray.
I bet that's a lot. There was years ago, I was convicted of that because I would say that, I mean, like, oh man, like that's awful. Or wow, I hate you going through such a tough time. Be like, I'm going to pray for you. And then as soon as I leave them, not on purpose, but your mind just gets busy with everything else. It would just kind of fall back to, being the last thing you think about. And I got convicted by that. I was like, man, I'm not going to tell people I'm going to pray for them and then not do it. So I been there. Yeah, been there.
But then there's the other one. I'm going to pray about it, like a job or something. But did you actually pray about it?
I did over 2 weeks. And every morning I'd have my quiet time. I'd get my Bible out. And it was crazy because God would speak to me so clearly, telling me to be bold and to depend on him. And so I'd shut my Bible and be like, gosh, I wonder what God's telling me.
You wonder. And you fought it, I'm sure. Maybe that's not what he's saying. Maybe. Let me give it one more day. One more prayer.
Right.
God.
I was like Gideon with the fleece.
I was going to say, God, Gideon, show me the wet fleece.
I was like, all right, God,
now show me the dry fleece. Yeah, you did. You did all that.
That's basically been me my entire life. You could almost just call me Gideon. Like, okay, maybe that was, I asked God for this very specifically, but maybe that was just a crazy fluke. Okay, God, now do this. Yeah, so yeah.
And it's so funny because you took over. This is a little off the subject, but you took over a dying business, did you not?
Yes.
That's what I called it, didn't I? I told you. I said being a ministry in FCA is like it's like running a small business, and your small business that you took over was not doing well. But anyway, so she didn't. You didn't. Let's put it this way.
You said that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was when you said that, you're like, wow, you kind of took over a dying business. I was like, oh, ouch. I did. I actually did.
So that tells me my suspicions, you didn't know what you were getting into, did you?
Absolutely not. But I knew that was the next step in me being obedient to where God wanted me. And I think half the time, if we are just being honest, if we are really being obedient to going where God wants us to go and moving when he wants us to move, I don't think we have any idea, right? It's kind of like you can go back and look at David's story in the Bible, like when David was that shepherd out in the pasture, taking care of his sheep and all of his animals. Like, if God would have told him, hey, you know what, you're going to be king one day. Like, he probably wouldn't have taken that shepherding job as serious, but as we know now, the shepherding job prepared him for the kingship, right? So yeah, I think God gives us little doses, because I think if we saw the full picture, I think either we would freak out, we would freeze. It'd be too much for us to handle.
Yeah, and he gave you little doses in your coaching career, which we're going to get into right now, because that's why we're here. So we are here for coaches. We love coaches. We were coaches. Dan and I, neither of us coach anymore. My first coaching job was in 1982. So this is 40 years. I'm in my 41st year, oh my God, of being involved in Fastpitch softball. And Dan, I think in your playing career and everything, What's it been for you? 40 years, almost too? I mean,
Oh man. We'll call it. Well, we counting playing.
oh, we're counting travel ball, everything.
Oh,
T-ball,
travel. Well, I've been playing since yeah, so it's like 40 years easy.
40 years.
I
So
think I started playing at 8, and I turned 49 in a couple months.
most women
So
would
yeah,
not say that on podcast,
I'm
but
proud of it, man.
proud of it.
I can't believe I've lived this long. You
Oh man,
kidding
we
me?
got to have a big party in 50
Oh, for
years.
50? Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah.
I run away. I run
Oh,
away from parties. Dana's like, yes, we're having a party. All right, so everybody on listening to this podcast invited. I'll give you Dana's address later. Okay,
oh,
so
wait a minute.
I will not do that. We truly, Dot, myself, Dana, Jeff Duke. If you don't know Jeff Duke, look him up online. Dr. Jeff Duke, amazing. He created the 3D Institute, three-dimensional coaching. Awesome. We all love coaches, and we want to see coaches thrive, and we know how difficult it is today to do that with the athletes, the parents, administration, the media, fans. The whole thing is just weighs on you, man, as I know and as Dana knows.
Oh,
So, Dana, we want to let these coaches, we're going to give them some hope every time we do this. So, we want Dana to tell her story as she was a secular coach, throwing hats at umpires and various other shenanigans. But it's a great story. So, hopefully, you'll get something out of it and you can feel a little more uplifted after this. So, go ahead, Dana. You have the floor.
yeah. Well, throwing hats, that was a fluke. I was trying to pull a Bobby Cox and take
Sure.
my hat off and throw it on the ground. And I was trying to go old school Bobby Cox and just slam that hat on the ground. But I wear these big, sun hat, big build sun hats and
Bucket hats, they call them.
bucket hats. Yeah, and it got stuck on my finger, and I kid you not, it hit the umpire in the rear end. So that's all we need to say about that. But
There's pictures out there too, I think.
yeah, there's somebody actually caught the hat mid-flight. So that's crazy. But yeah, so being a college coach, my goodness, like I was at Furman for 9 years. The first 7 years I was there, now that I look back on it, I got it all wrong. Because did I love the kids? Yeah, of course I love the kids. I wanted them to be great ball players, wanted them to be great people, but I had too big of an ego and too much pride to really, look outside and look beyond just softball. I wanted to be the best softball coach Furman had ever seen. I wanted to have teams that, just rewrote the record books at Furman. And so I look back on that now and I think, oh my gosh, like I got it all wrong. And I think most of us, whether we think that we're doing it, I guess the right way or not, hindsight's 2020. But I would do stuff like knowing now that this is a terrible option. Like I thought I was doing the right thing by having an open door policy. I would tell my players, you can come to me anytime, talk about anything, because I've got an open door policy. And I used to think, look at me being available to my kids. Look at me, being here and willing to pour into these girls. But the thing is, open door policy, it still means that they had to come to me. And for us as Christians, man, one of the things I love about my relationship with Jesus is that Jesus continues to meet me exactly where I am. He doesn't want me to stay there, but he meets me there. And looking back on it, just not having that relationship with Jesus, I wanted to help the kids, but man, I look back and I think what a bunch of wasted time of me not going and meeting them where they were instead of asking them to come to me. And I think that's just one small little thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm a competitive person. I push those kids athletically. I push them out of their comfort zone. I push them just in every way possible because I was old school and thought, that whole saying, like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. but I wasn't preparing them for the battle. Like, I was just killing them. Like, I wasn't preparing them for the battle of going, hey, this is how you survive. This is how you get stronger. This is what it takes. So yeah, that first 7 years at Furman, just different. And again, when the team would lose, oh my gosh, I took it personally, and I was on that coaching roller coaster to where my self-worth was completely dependent on our wins and losses. So when we won, I was like, oh my gosh, like, these kids are amazing, and I must be doing something right at practice. And man, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And then if we would lose, I am a terrible coach, and I must not be doing the right thing at practice. And I am obviously not a good leader. I mean, it was all about me. There was no, okay, God, what do you want me to do in this situation? So it was very egocentric. But my last 2 years at Furman, I had completely surrendered my life to Jesus, and it changed everything. It changed, everything from my language to my relationships to how I coached. Because in my mind, I was like, oh my goodness, if we run a practice and we don't get first and third right, let's just call a spade. First and third is a freaking nightmare. Nobody likes to run first and third in practice. Okay, so
they never get it right in practice, do they?
They never get it right, and we spend so much time, talking about it and working on it.
What's funny about coaches is then we expect them to get it right in the game, and when they don't, we're stomping our feet or throwing hats at umpire. Right? It's like, how do we expect them to get it right in a game, and they can't get it right in practice?
Yeah. And so, it just got to that point if we were running a certain drill or doing something at practice, and I thought, man, we are just not getting this. Instead of me going, okay, I'm a terrible coach, or I've got to change stuff. Like, it was kind of like, I wonder what's going on with the kids. Like, I wonder, like, does somebody have a bad day, or, whether they're breaking up with their boyfriends or having problems with their parents or, having problems in class. It's kind of like, it kind of broadened my view and made it so much bigger than just softball. So, just having that relationship with Jesus, man, it made me see things in a completely different light. And that part was really cool, because it was no longer like, hey, do I want to be successful at softball? Sure, I do. Like, I'm competitive. If we're going to do this thing, let's go out and let's win some games. But the big thing is, when I surrendered my life to Jesus, that stopped affecting my self-worth. Like, my identity was no longer rooted in what my win-loss record was. My identity was rooted in, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, I've got the King of Kings. Like, he calls me his own. He calls me beloved. He pursued me. He wants a relationship with me. And that just trumps everything else. And so, nobody likes losing. But I think coaches that don't have a relationship with Jesus, when you lose, if you don't have the right perspective, it can wreck you. And that was the big shift I saw in my personal life because we had a couple great seasons, a couple of really, and we broke some records and, some really good stuff. But those last 2 seasons, I can't remember whether they were good or bad, but I remember the kids that accepted Jesus. I remember the kids that got baptized. Like, I remember different things from those last 2 seasons. I can't tell you how we did in conference. I don't remember that. But I remember having a freshman come in from up north, and she just completely just met Jesus and grew spiritually the whole time. Like, it was crazy. I remember that. Like, I remember the details of that. Like it was yesterday. But so yeah, it definitely changes your perspective. And I think you know as well as I do, if you don't have the right perspective in college coaching, the game, the job will eat you up, spit you out.
Well, that is a great segue. Again, I have no notes here, so we're just going off the cuff, but you said it, so I'm going to go there because you and I talk about this all the time, and we kind of half joke about this because everybody knows my wife's a full-time Division I softball coach. She's trying to get her team to the highest level, the World Series. So there's major time commitment, for lack of a better word. I mean, these kids, you're responsible for 20-something kids, 6 or 7 staff members. Then you got your support staff, and you have your administration, and then you have parents, and you have all this stuff. So the time, and then these kids want, for some reason, these recruits want to call at 10 o'clock at night. Don't understand it. But so how does a coach, no, you're not married, so it might be, but you minister to coaches, so you understand this. How does a coach handle their time when it comes to what's a priority and what can wait?
Yeah, that's big. And I think whether you're married or not, or whether you have kids or you don't, of course, all of that plays a factor into how much time you physically have to give something. But I think at the end of the day, one of the things that I did not do well early on in my coaching career, nobody ever told me to set boundaries. Like I thought I was doing a very noble thing by taking my job home with me, because I thought, my job is not just a job. Like it's a group of young women that I'm leading. My job is about relationships. And so I thought I was doing this very noble, thing to go, okay, it's okay to take my job home because these kids need me. And these kids, like, it's my job to grow them and make sure that, they have all the stuff that they need to be where they want to be. But nobody ever pulled me aside and said, hey, don't do that at the expense of losing yourself. There was no line for me between my personal life and my work life. There was no line. And I think sometimes if you're single, it can be easier to do that, because I came home, and because I don't have a husband, I came home and it was okay for the kids to call me. It was okay for me to take everything that happened that day and to just mentally process that the rest of the night. Was it healthy? No, absolutely not. And really, while everybody else in their 20s and 30s, while they were getting married and making a life for themselves, I really, like, my life was my job, especially all the way through my 30s. My life was my job. But I wish I would have had somebody say, the best thing you can do for yourself, the most healthy thing you can do for yourself and your team, you got to set some boundaries. So whether it is like you leave things in the car, or whether there's a cutoff time, like, I know that you guys, we've talked to you and Dot. We've also talked to Patty Gasso and her husband, Jim, about, Jim is very, adamant I think is the right word to say, look, hey, it's 7:00, no more work calls. It's all about family stuff. And I wish I would have had somebody say that, so you say, like, how do you separate the two? You've got to have some boundary lines, and you've got to be really good at keeping those boundary lines clear. It's got to be a clear cut. This is my cutoff mark right here. Mm-hmm. And that may feel harsh and sound harsh in the beginning, because everybody goes, oh, but I love my kids. And, these parents are dropping baby girl off at college, and I'm supposed to take care of them. And I took pride in that. But I also lost a lot of myself in that. And the crazy thing is, I went home every night thinking about my team. My team did not go home every night thinking about me. And I didn't realize that at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's just me being young and naive at the time, because I thought they love me as much as I love them. But, man, it's an ebb and flow, isn't it?
It sure is. I was just thinking about you going home. You probably put on your purple sweatsuit and looked in the mirror. Furman is purple and white.
Why we got to go there?
We don't have to go there. But you said a very important word: boundaries. Most coaches today, Christian or secular, do not have boundaries. I promise you, it's probably in the 90% range. somewhere in there. I don't know the figures, but I talk to coaches all the time. And with the boundaries, there's also the word no. We have to, as coaches, as human beings, everybody's busy. We have to know when to say no. You and I talked about, you went to an event the other day that took you 3.5 hours there and 3.5 hours back, right? I mean,
Right.
it was an event for the Lord, but you have to stop and think. And I'm not saying you should have or shouldn't have went. I mean, you didn't tell me either way, but I'm sure you prayed about it. But sometimes you got to say, listen, 7 hours, I'm not going to get home till after midnight. You do all the things in your head, especially if you have a family. Is that the right thing to do? Is God saying to you, yeah, go to that event? It's okay. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But a lot of coaches don't know how to say no, and they don't know how to say no to their athletes, which is another issue.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough to say no to them, right? But I tell Dot all the time, if we're going to be Christian, we need to be an example to the young ladies that are under your care. So if you tell your here's one example that I think is teaching her athletes or anybody's athletes a lesson. I'm going home at 7:00. We'll just use Jim's example. I'm going to shut off my phone because I need to be with my husband because my husband needs me. If it's an emergency, you can make whatever contingent plans. Assistant coach could take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. If it's an emergency, text 911 or call, hang up and call back, whatever the thing is, but it's got to be an emergency.
Yeah.
And that's an example that your kids will take away and say, and even the parents, I think the parents would even appreciate that. Your husband is more important. What does God say? He's first.
Yeah.
Your spouse is second. Your children are third. And then your job is fourth. So we have a lot of stuff in between. A lot of stuff in between God and our athletes that have to come before your athletes, excuse me. So I say be an example, and whatever that is, if your athlete comes into you at 6:00 at night and your husband's got dinner on the table and they want to talk, I mean, you have to weigh that out, obviously. There's times when you just have to do it. But there's also a time you can say, okay, listen, let's pick this up tomorrow. My husband's waiting for me. That to me is setting a good example. So those girls can move on in life and say, wow, coach taught me that great example. So anyway, it's about being present.
Well, no, I mean, that's awesome. And you think about Jesus, Jesus, his job, I mean, he came to serve. I mean, that's what he said, like the first shall be the last, but he came to serve and came to die for us. Like his job, it was all about relationships. That was the most important thing, right? He knew that he was going to bridge the gap between us, unholy people, and a holy God. So there's nothing more important than that. But we go back and we see Jesus taking himself away from crowds often so that he could have alone time with his Father, his priority, right? And there were times where, like whether he had to get in the boat and go to the middle of the body of water, but he got away because even though we are his priority, his heavenly Father is always going to trump that. And I think that you're right. For us as Christian men and women, man, especially for Christian women, like women that have children, they're like, no, my kids are always going to come before my husband. I'm like, that's not biblical. That's not, I mean, I get it. Your kids are important. They're a priority, but it's God, husband, kids, and then everything else. Right. And for the husband, I think that they've got it harder than us women because they've got to lead everybody in the family. They've got to be more submissive to their heavenly Father than anything else. Right. So that submissiveness that just makes women crazy. That word, you can say submissive and women will lose their minds and go, that's why I can't do the whole godly woman thing. I ain't being submissive to nobody. I'm making my own money. I buy my own car. It's like, whoa. That's not what it's talking about. Yeah. Submissive is going, I'm going to fall under your leadership. Right. And the husband has the toughest job because he not only has to lead himself well, he's got to lead the family well. And as a wife, yes, we've got to lead ourselves, but we've got to be a partner to that husband, and it's I don't know. So I wish more women in it. I know for all the ladies out there, they're like, of course she's going to say that. She's single. She don't even know. Hey, from a single, completely competent woman who is independent, I'm going on record. I would love to fall under the leadership of a godly man, because in some ways that would take the pressure off of me, right? I don't want to put it on anybody else, but that's kind of the man's role. I would love to fall under the leadership of a godly man. And I think that instead of looking at that as a blessing, sometimes women look at that as like, ain't nobody gonna hold me down. Like, come on now. Come on, let's not get crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Your godly man leader is Jesus. So you do have one.
That's right.
But
That's
I
right.
gotta
That's
have
right.
Dot listen to this, and I'm gonna tell you told me to have her listen to it, so I don't get in trouble.
I don't want to get in trouble with Dot.
But Dot
Wait a minute.
has that chip on her shoulder about submissiveness. She certainly doesn't, but I think most women do, like you said.
Well, I think most successful and independent, because there's a certain, like, for women, it's kind of like a feather in your cap to be like, yeah, like I can do this. Like, don't count me out. Like, I can do this. And so there's a certain satisfaction that comes from that independence. So, that is a good thing. I think independence is a great thing, but there's a fine line on going, hey, I'm going to be an independent woman, but at the end of the day, I want to be a woman dependent on God at the end of the day.
Amen to that. You are a godly woman, that's for sure. You weren't always, but you are now.
I was not always. No, back in the day when I was in that purple jumpsuit, there were some times I was not godly.
Yeah, you know what I look back on when I was not a godly coach is sometimes I'll think to myself, man, because what does the Bible say about words? They hurt, right?
Powerful.
They're powerful, sharper than a two-edged sword, right? I think the translation is what's something about words slice. It's like slicing your skin or something like that.
Yeah.
The translation.
Yep.
And I can even umpires. I acted like such a fool to umpires. I look back now and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed of things I might have said to athletes or other coaches. So, yeah, that's not fun to think about. But I know God's forgiven me. It's sometimes harder to forgive yourself, though, for those things.
It is.
Because
words. That's all part of.
Yeah.
It's all part of the sanctification process, right? That there has to come a time where sanctification is. Are we looking more like Jesus today than we did yesterday? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what sanctification is. Looking more and more like Jesus. And I think that's part of the process is for us to look back and go, wow, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. Wow, I can't believe my attitude was like that. I mean, I do that all the time. But I also think that, Satan, he wants us to stay there and think, oh, well, I'm just a screw up. And, I can't believe, like, I messed up so much. And nothing I say is ever going to, carry any weight to it because of how much I've messed up. And it's part of that sanctification to look back and go, I feel really terrible about that. That's where that conviction comes in. We repent, God forgives us. But the most important thing is to move forward, right?
Yep. We need to move forward. So take a few minutes and then we'll wrap it up. So you lost your job, right? So this is the point I wanted to get to. You lost your job at Furman. Are you 100% sure? I mean, you were a Christian, but it doesn't seem like that was part of the reason that you lost your job, right? Well, you weren't attacked because you were a Christian, were you? Or do you not know totally?
I think about that sometimes, and I think that I would have never have left college coaching on my own. I think it had to be an abrupt Of course, nothing that happens to us, it doesn't happen to us without it sifting through his hands first, right? So obviously, in my mind, God was, orchestrating the whole thing for a much bigger reason, much bigger picture than I could even fathom at the time. But I don't think I would have left college coaching. It wasn't even on my radar to go, okay, what's my next step? I wasn't thinking that. But I think that in order for me to leave college coaching, it had to be an abrupt change like that to really go, okay, I'm done with it. I'm over it, that kind of thing. So, it's kind of a catch-22 was, God knew that it was going to happen. He allowed it to happen. Do I think that I was persecuted because of me being a Christian? I don't think it was that, but I think God was orchestrating some things in place so that I could be in another place, so that he could position me somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But actually, the point I was getting to was, since this is for Christian coaches, I just didn't know. I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't want to lead them on that you did or did not get fired because you were Christian, because you were persecuted. I mean, doesn't mean you were persecuted because you were Christian, but so walk us through what happened, because this, what Dan is going to talk about now, is commonplace today.
Yeah. So, and again, this was 2012. And for me, a full roster, sometimes like a full roster right now, it looks like 25 kids. But a full roster for me was 18 or 19 kids. And at the time, Furman is a small Division I school, but we had 18 kids on the team. And I had 4 kids that were just unhappy. They weren't playing as much as they wanted to play. In my mind, I was very open and honest, and hey, you win that spot at practice, and I'm always going to give you a shot. You're never going to be completely counted out, but they just were unhappy. And so they turned things that legitimately happened, and they would say, this is what happened at practice, but they would exacerbate it. So when my athletic director said, did this happen? Of course, I'm going to be honest with them, right? I've surrendered my life to Jesus. So when he approaches me and says, Coach, did you make your kids run at practice and deny them water? I was kind of going, well, that's half the story. Yes, we did run. We did an Indian run. If any of you guys are familiar with an Indian run, right? They're in a single file line and the person in the back sprints to the front. And so we were doing an Indian run around the field. And I said, hey, until we can do this drill right, we're going to continue to do this Indian run. They probably ran for about 20 minutes. And so it was a half truth. So when he asked me, did you run your team and deny them water? Well, I said, yeah. And then I explained to him what I did. And he said, well, you can't do that. And I said, well, okay, first of all, let's back up. Nobody asked for water, like nobody. But they knew that, hey, the drill's not over until we are successful with this area, right? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, you're a Division I athlete. If you can't run for 20 minutes at a jog, there's a bigger issue, right? And so that was one part of it. The other part, this is the part that really got me. So
before you go on this for a second, I just want to say, every single coach has athletes that are unhappy. Every single coach. There's no question about it. When you can only play 9 or 10, and nowadays, like you said, college rosters are 20 plus. I know some have 30. You got unhappy people. There's no question about that.
Oh, yeah.
When there's unhappiness, there's more than just the athlete is unhappy. Now you got mom and dad are unhappy. Grandparents are unhappy. Their teammate friends, they make their teammate friends unhappy. It's a vicious cycle that goes down the line. So what I'm saying is, this can happen to any coach. So we have to be aware.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and at the time I thought it was silly. I thought there is no way I'm going to get fired because we did an Indian run, and we were actually at the end of the Indian run, we celebrated because the kids actually, they did the specific drill that we were talking about. They did it right and they did it well. So we celebrated at the end of that run. But, So that's why I left practice that day feeling good, thinking, man, we had a good practice. Never in a million years did I think that specific thing that we did at practice would be turned around. But this is actually the straw that broke the camel's back. There was our dugouts at the field at Furman. The parents could stand basically right next to the dugout. They could stand right next to you and look in the dugout. You could hear what they were saying. The kids could talk to it. Like it's not a good situation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's kind of more like travel ball, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And again, Furman's, it's a small, very small school, Division I, but it's definitely a mid-major. But this kid who wasn't playing the whole game, I heard, not somebody else told me, I heard her father just a talking. He was standing right next to me, just a talking. He couldn't understand why baby girl wasn't in the game, and so-and-so wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. And so I heard this the entire game for a whole doubleheader. So after the game, I pulled the kid aside and I said, "Hey, let's hash something out." And in my mind, I thought this is the right thing to do. And it was just me and that kid and my assistant coach. It wasn't in front of the team, wasn't in front of her parents. I had an assistant coach there because if you're having a conversation with a kid one-on-one, I'm telling you right now, you got to stop that. But so it was the three of us. So I looked at this kid and I said, "Look, I know that you're unhappy because you're not getting in as much as you want." And I said, "Honestly, I think that's a good thing. I wouldn't want you to be on the bench and be happy about it. Like, I like the fact that you're fired up. That's, to me, you're going to do all the things to get back in the game." I said, "What I want to tell you right now is whatever your father says to me or says in the stands or whatever he does, when he comes to games, I want you to know that has no bearing on whether or not you play. Like, I just didn't want you to think that, hey, because, if your dad is in the stands and he's having a bad day and he's complaining, that I'm not going to play you just because of what he's doing." I said, "I want you to know your playing time is completely dependent on you and nobody else." I left that I looked at the kid and I said, "Do you understand?" She said, yeah. Thank you, for telling me that. I said, "No problem." The very next day, I got brought in to the HR office and I was told that was considered retaliation. Retaliation? I was like, "What are you talking?" And they said that goes against the university's policy, that no one in a supervisor position or leadership position can retaliate to someone they lead. And I thought, no, I don't think you guys have the right story. There was not retaliation. I actually was telling the kid, don't worry about your dad. Like, don't worry about what he says. I'm not. Because if you go out and you kill it the next week at practice, you're going to be in because you've earned it. So if your dad is up there in the stands talking about how much he doesn't agree with me, I need you to know I'm good. Like, that has no bearing. I said, so that's not retaliation. And the human resources woman that was there, she said, that is absolutely. She said, you shouldn't even have brought her father into the conversation. And at that point, I thought, this is an uphill battle that I am not going to win. And it was then that I thought, this is over. This is over for me. No matter how much I want to stay here, no matter how much I want to be here, this is over. So, yeah, I mean, it's in my mind, looking back, I actually said this to the AD. I said, my last 2 years, I've been living a surrendered life to Jesus. You should have fired me 5 years ago when my language was terrible and I was wrapped up in the wins and losses. And, my perspective was skewed because of what we were doing on the field. You should have fired me then. But now I understand the role that I have. And he kind of looked at me and he said, well, you can't be doing the things that you've done. And I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, they were all going to back each other at that point. There was probably,
oh yeah.
I mean, there had to be some danger. There was danger lurking long before the event actually happened because they were just unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I mean, Dad was planning something. I'm sure, just looking for an opening
Well,
get
and Dad was in the stands talking to all the other parents,
of course,
trying to get everybody on board, and that's what parents do in the stands, and it's as man as crazy and as we think that is, oh my gosh, why would you ever do that? Just show up and support your kid. But in their minds, they are supporting their kid. That's how they're supporting their kid. But the thing is, I was never out to discredit his daughter or to keep her on the bench. I would have loved her to play because the position that she was in, it would have been a better fit. But it just wasn't working out. She was being beat out by somebody else. So,
and then isn't that what it's about though? Competition.
Oh my goodness!
Everybody gets their chance, and the best player gets the start. But that's another conversation because the best player is subjective to what the person making the lineup feels. So, everybody's got their opinion. And in Mom and Dad's mind, Sally is the best player. It doesn't matter. Sally should be playing all the time. Now, there's a few. I've met a few that have a proper perspective, but for the most part, that we can do a whole podcast or 100 on that alone. But we'll leave that there. Yeah. So that is, that the reason I wanted to do this with you is because the coaches that are going to listen to this, because I'm going to let our group know, our coaches group, that this is available to listen to. This can happen to anybody at any moment. You can do everything right, but schools now are so worried about lawsuits and staying out of the news, but they don't care. They'll just fire you.
Absolutely.
Go on to the next. It's such a backwards world that the athletes and their parents would have that much power. It just it's craziness. If parents that are listening, you are absolutely, and I'm not a parent, but I've lived through this. You're absolutely teaching your kids the wrong lesson. But that's another story for another day because we are well into it. You and I, we could talk for hours and hours.
Absolutely.
It's usually about 60 minutes before we start getting on each other's nerves. So we will end it there.
We could go longer than that.
We could go longer than that. Dana's been here on New Year's Eve, spent the weekend with us. So we love her. She's one of our favorite people. I love you guys. I was going to say, where is it? I was waiting for that.
I did introduce Bob and Dot to collard greens on New Year's Day, black-eyed peas.
Dot loves them now. Dot loves them.
What's that?
Dot loves them now. She went out and bought them this past Christmas Eve. By the way, Dana said she was coming and never showed up. So, but that's okay.
I was sick.
She was sick. Dot went out and bought like 18 cans of black-eyed peas. And
I'm just saying, if you're going to do New Year's, let's do it right.
Tell that little Dot story about New Year's Day.
So New Year's Day, we're all, I mean, it's college football extravaganza on New Year's Day. Like that is like, if you are a college football fan, that is your day. So I'm pumped because I know we're going to just have good food and watch good football all day long. So Dot being the busy, like, hey, let's go woman that she is, at one point she's sitting in the chair and she looks at me, she kind of gets up and she goes, is this what you do all day on New Year's Day? We just sit here and we watch TV for hours? Out in my head, I was thinking, yeah, and a lot of people really like this. Like this is what people look forward to. And Dot, she kind of sat there for a minute. She's like, well, I don't get it.
Oh my!
So yeah, we're just trying to educate her.
I love that woman. God broke the mold on that one, as they say. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
But she's an amazing one of the.
Getting Dot to sit still for a couple hours. Oh my goodness, that's a task.
It's a task. I live with it. But I will say this. I'm going to say this, and I know you agree, Dan. There's role models out there, but then there's role models. And Dot, for women, I mean, just look up all her accomplishments, and that's people like that should be role models, not Hollywood
Absolutely.
And all that other nonsense out there. But thank you, Dana. We will be back for more. I'm sure we will do more because this is such an important topic. Seems like people are afraid to discuss it, but we are going to tackle it, baby. We are going to tackle
Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there.
Put it out there.
Bobby, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. As always, it only took a week for you to do it, to find the time for Bobby.
I'm starting to get just as busy as Dot. How about that?
I know. It's unbelievable now. Poor little Bobby's out. No friends to play with. All right, then. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Dana, talk to you soon.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Champions Within. Today was a little different, as I said at the beginning of the show. We are Champions Within, but this podcast was made for the new Christian coaches group that we just started. If you're interested in being part of our group of Christian coaches where we can encourage each other, learn from each other, pray for each other, all those great things, I encourage you to email me at bob@drssllc.com, bob@Delta Romeo Sierra Sierra Lima Lima Charlie.com, bob@drssllc.com. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. I look forward to hearing from you. Our group is going to be amazing. We're going to gather once or twice a month on Zoom and maybe schedule other events as well where we can meet. God bless you guys. Talk to you soon.